Welcome everyone, my name is Cameron Davis, esports commentator extraordinaire, and I am so excited to finally be able to talk about this game, Spectre Divide. This is a new TAC shooter FPS by Mountaintop Studios, very similar, inspired by, in the vein of, whatever, of Counter-Strike, of Valorant, a little bit of Rainbow Six. What's important about it though, and this is the thing that most other people are going to be talking about, is the duplicity system, where you have you and you have your Spectre. You are playing 2 units at a time. So this game is going to be 3 versus 3, but at the same time, it's also kind of 6 versus 6. Trust me, there are going to be so many other videos talking about this mechanic specifically, and I will be engaging with it a little bit today. But what I want to do is actually talk about the sponsors. This game is class-based, but it's not class-based in the sense of Valorant. It's more in the sense of Rainbow Six. This is where that comparison more comes into play. There's no verticality. There's no map manipulation in that sense. When you load into a game, you pick your class. Here it's called sponsors. The lore of this game is that it's a game show. It's a fight. It's a tournament on TV, and so each of these companies, Pinnacle International, Morgan United, Bloom Technologies, etc., they are sponsoring the players in these games, and so by choosing these, that's the lore, that's how it all fits in, but you're basically just choosing what class you are, aka what equipment you can purchase. Now, I already have all 8 of these unlocked, because I am currently filming this in the beta, where we were given a whole bunch of in-game currency to unlock this. You will start off with these first 4 unlocked to get the other 4, and also to get a bunch of the goodies. You can't see it on the right because I'm already maxed out. How to unlock these sponsors is very similar to how you unlocked agents in Valorant, which is where you activate the endorsement. You get experience by playing the game over time, and you will unlock sprays, banners, charms, and of course the actual sponsors themselves, being able to use them in the game. I already have all of them unlocked. You'll still need to activate the endorsements of these first 4 in order to get all the goodies, the banners, sprays, etc. But you will at least be able to use these 4 as your initial sponsors. For these 4, you have to activate the endorsement and get enough experience to eventually unlock them, or spend in-game currency like I did to max out the endorsements across the board. But in this video, I wanted to go in and give a brief explainer on each of these different sponsors, because some of it can be a little bit overwhelming. And I figured after watching this video, hopefully you'll have a better sense of which sponsor you would want to either focus on in the very beginning, or maybe even, you don't know which of these sponsors you want to activate the endorsement of, which one do you want to work towards unlocking. Seeing them firsthand in this video hopefully will give you a better sense of what you would want to better play with. So each sponsor will have 3 abilities. Similar to Valorant, you have to purchase these abilities, but you also get one that starts off for free. The price of the different abilities varies on the sponsorship. It varies on the actual piece of equipment itself. Whether you can have 1 or 2 of them varies on the equipment itself. Some of them even recharge over time. That varies on the equipment itself. One thing that is different though, where it's more Rainbow Six and Valorant, is that there are no ultimates. There is no ultimate ability. You have these pieces of equipment that you can purchase, every single one of them, from round 1 through the end of the game. No ultimates that you need to charge up for, no game-breaking abilities. These are all standard pieces of equipment, and that is it. Trust me, there is already enough going on without having to worry about ultimates in this game. The first one I want to talk about is going to be Pinnacle International. This is the one that is going to be the most straightforward for most people, especially if they come from other TAC shooters. The abilities are Splinter Grenade, Adrenaline, and Flash Grenade. The Splinter Grenade is going to be the one that comes for free in the very beginning. I believe you get 1 at the start of the round for free. You got to purchase the second one, but regardless, it's a standard grenade. It's a bit of a... it's called Splinter Grenade for a reason. You can see it's a bunch of different grenades popping out of them. And as you can see, you can do a full amount of damage if you land it pretty close to center. Each little shell is 40 damage each. But if you throw it too far away, you'll get just a little bit of damage. You won't get the full kill, however. So you need to worry about that. Still, the damage is great. It explodes almost immediately. There is a bit of a warning for the enemies with the actual splintering itself. There's I guess you could call it a short delay from when the grenade hits the ground and the damage starts to get dealt. But regardless, if say someone's trying to enter on your position, or whether you know there's a defender there, it's a really good way to, if not fully clear them out, lessen the work that you need to do with your shooting afterwards. The next ability is going to be a standard flash. Left click, similar, right. Overhand, underhand. Most abilities that you throw will have the option to overhand or underhand them. There are some that will go over that are different in that sense, but the fragmentation grenade and now the flash grenade, both overhand and underhand. This is standard flash, and you will get flashed yourself. One thing to note about the flash grenade is that, unlike other games where it needs to bounce off of a wall first, it will just pop after being in the air for a certain amount of time. So you absolutely need to be aware of that, especially with the underhand going up and over a wall like this.
Throw 'em flash.
Oh no! And you also, you can look away from flashes.
Flash up.
And it'll be lessened, the effect will be lessened, but you will still get affected by it even if you're turned around if you're in LOS. So that includes this here as well. It's a significantly lessened effect than just a full-on staring at it like you're staring at the sun during the eclipse. It's about a whole third, maybe even a quarter as long. So it's still certainly helpful, but you need to be aware of at least a little bit of that. And then that flash timing also goes both ways. If you see a flash coming towards your position,
flash out.
Oh god! And you're ready to fight. So be aware of that, especially if you know that it's going to be someone that has Pinnacle International equipped coming your direction. Now the final ability, Adrenalink, this one is a bit more unique. This one has a couple of things going for it. The most basic aspect of it is that you will be healing yourself. When you do that, you can only use either your knife or your sidearm. And it will auto-equip the one that you had most recently equipped. That's why I went to my knife. But the other thing that you need to know about this, which is going to make this an actually good piece of equipment, is that, say I got into a fight here. I need to heal up. I go behind a wall. I heal on up. This unit is healing. This unit has enhanced vision. So much easier to see. This guy's out in the open, but if they're holding a corner like this, so much easier to see. And can maybe even get a wall bang in with it.
Adrenalink.
If you you just see the foot there. This also, if I'm stimmed, so right, you can even see it.
Adrenalink activated.
Healing, stimmed. Stimmed is not just the special vision. It also means that you will not get slowed if you encounter traps that will slow movement down. So yeah, very straightforward kit. Definitely the easiest one to start off with. There's a reason why it's up first. If this is your first time getting into the game and you're still getting used to the whole Spectre duality aspect of it, there is no shame. In fact, I would probably recommend going this route just because all the abilities are so straightforward. So many shooters have grenades, they have flash grenades, and even the ability to self-heal is going to be useful whether or not you use the infrared vision or not. The next starting sponsor is going to be Morgan United, whereas Pinnacle International was a lot more about the aggressive entering abilities and space-taking abilities. Morgan is a lot more about defense and control. Their initial ability, the starting ability, the one you get for free, is going to be a smoke grenade. Now, we'll go over this ability next. As you can see, this one does also have the overhand, underhand for left click, right click. What you need to know about the smoke grenade is that you only have overhand. But what's that on the right click, you ask? Well, it's still an overhand, but you will have your Spectre instantly shift into it. Now, most of the time, you'll be using this as just a regular generic smoke grenade, blocking off full entry points. It's a dome. It's a very classic dome. This isn't Counter-Strike. It's not going to have any procedural bloom. It's not going to have any sort of randomness in terms of the edges themselves like Counter-Strike or PUBG smokes. This one is very straightforward. It's a dome. You know exactly what it's going to cover for both parties as well. It's not going to be client side where someone could see through a corner for a brief second that the other person cannot. But yeah, so being able to have the smoke shift is huge. Bam, suddenly someone's in the smoke, catching them off guard. It also, if your other unit, if your Spectre is on the opposite side of the map, this is a really good way to bring them over as well because it's so fast.
Smoke shift.
So yeah, just be aware of that. Really good. I mean, it's just a classic smoke with a special ability attached to it, but 90% of the time, 85, no, I think, yeah, 90 is appropriate. 90% of the time, you're going to be using it just as a regular smoke grenade, but don't forget about the smoke shift aspect of it as well. The next one is going to be Meltdown. This is a classic Molotov. It does a fair bit of damage over time. It's only, what is that, 12 points of damage per tick. But if they stand it the whole time, they will go down. In fact, the entire length of the Meltdown will be a total of 168 points of damage. As you can see here, it's not going to do a massive amount of damage. I can just quickly walk through it and avoid it, but the chip damage could be important. And it's gonna, if you put this at an entryway, it's going to really deter people from pushing in, or if they do want to swing you, it's gonna make it easier for you because they're already gonna be lower HP. It doesn't have a slow effect, but don't worry, you got that as well. This is going to be a trap. Whereas most grenades, I probably should have said this first. This game is also similar to Valorant, where you aren't stuck in spawn like in Counter-Strike. You do have these walls. You can play around in your own area before the walls go up, and that's when the round starts. Grenades, you cannot pre-throw. Traps, you can set ahead of time. So you can, again, kind of like Rainbow Six, you can use this as a little bit of setup in the starting zone. But what this trap does, it's going to turn invisible. But then once someone triggers it, it's going to be a slow movement field. That will affect, similar to the Meltdown, it will affect both parties. So again, you got to be aware of that. But it's a really good way to not just give you an advantage in a fight in an entry position. Say they're trying to come to the site, or rather retake a site. It also can be useful because it's a permanent setup to be blocking a flank.
Placing hidden grasp.
Enemies will be able to hear it. It does go invisible at range, but when you get a certain distance to it, they will be able to hear it and then see a little outline. They can shoot it and take care of it that way, but that is going to be information on its own. So whether or not this thing actually goes off, in fact, I've played a bunch of games where it maybe goes off once the entire game, but it still provides so much value to me because if I'm holding this angle over here, that gets shot, I immediately know that I need to worry about this angle. So information is king. Information is arguably more important than the utility of the slow effect itself. What you can also do is combo this with this slow movement. Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh no, oh god, that's a full death. That's a full death right there. The next sponsor we want to talk about is going to be Bloom Technologies. Their first ability, the free ability, the starting ability, is going to be Hex Barrier, where you put up a swarm of digital wasps that you can see through. Enemies can see through it as well. You can see through both sides, and you can shoot through it. Each pillar, each wall, each quarter of the wall, each panel, that's what it's called. Each panel is going to be 150 HP, same as a fully armored up enemy. It's going to be the same health. So just be aware, these go down quite fast, so you can't hold on it for too long, but it can definitely give you an advantage. I see it most often used on attacking side if someone's going to swing. You get all this information, and then you get a little bit of a footsie game between you and your opponent. Do you kind of like swing out? Do you avoid the walls, or do you start shooting the walls and get through them? Just know that these panels won't stay up forever, but as long as you're aware of how fast the walls are going to go down, you can still utilize that and have an advantage in the fight, unless the other person who is going to shoot through them is aware of how long it's going to take for the panel to go down, and you can even do some sort of...
Next barrier up.
You can even do some sort of bait them around that aspect. The next ability for Bloom Technologies is going to be Twin Mend. It is a basic heal. It will heal either yourself or your allies. The important thing to note is that it will heal both units. So if someone is on, say, over here in a fight, and they took damage, even if this person's full HP, this is, say, the Spectre of the person fighting over here, of the ally fighting over here, you can still heal them. As you can see, look, it's healing me, it's healing them. You will heal yourself less. You only heal yourself 40. You heal your allies 80. So that's something to know. But regardless, still a very useful ability. The last ability is going to be Swarm Grenade. It is most often used as a smoke. Again, left click overhand, right click underhand. But it does have an extra aspect to it. You can see it does deal damage to enemies only, not allies. It's not a lot of damage, but it is still a little bit of damage. It deters people from trying to push through. The whole duration only does 100 HP worth of damage. It doesn't even do a whole 150. So the damage aspect is more just a bonus, not the primary element of it. But definitely be aware of it as a factor. Where are you? There we go. Now, the fourth sponsor and the last one you're going to have immediate access to when you first load into the game without having to get the endorsement of is going to be Riker Industries. This one is my current favorite of the initial sponsors. In fact, it's probably my current favorite of all of the sponsors. This sponsorship is going to be very familiar to people who play, let's go with Valorant terms, Cypher and Killjoy. The very starting ability is going to be Wave Scan, and this one, it starts off for free. This one does recharge over time. You can't purchase extra options of it. As you can see, you only get one here for free, but it does recharge over time. So this first ability, Wave Scan, is kind of a combination between Sova's arrow / Hanzo's arrow, because it bounces, as well as Cypher's camera. So if you left click will just be a straight throw. A right click will bounce, and you can actually see, if you hold it, the trajectory of the bounce. This is going to be very helpful figuring out lineups in custom games on the maps, as well as if you're trying to just do something impromptu, you'll be able to see more or less where it's going to bounce. But what it does is you throw it, and it's going to do a wave scan that's limited on width, but it is unlimited in height, so don't worry if you have to throw it there or there or there or there. It's going to scan everything, and it is going to ping enemies in between it and you. This ping will stay with them. It doesn't last forever, as you can see, but it will stick the player if they're moving around. Now, information goes both ways, because if this is coming this way, they're going to see the direction that it goes, so they're going to know that you're this trajectory as well. But what's useful, let me wait for this final ping to go down first. What's useful is that it is the direction that the wave gets scanned is not locked to the unit that throws the wave scan. So it's going that way, and now it's coming to me. So you can throw it from one position, and this also could be very useful in finding specific lineups on parts of the map to be able to utilize both you and your Spectre. So one of it's going to throw, and as long as you get to your other unit in time, then it's going to pulse towards the other guy almost immediately. Pulse 3 times. Yeah, very straightforward. Again, super useful to check corners, very useful on attack and defense. I love it. This ability is great, and the fact that it recharges means that I always throw this almost first thing in the round. If I'm on attack, if I'm going to a site, I'll throw it and try and scan behind one of the common places, whether mid, whether A, whether B, of where people are going to hold. If I'm on defense, I will go to my site and I will almost instantly throw it down just to watch for a rush on that site, because it's going to recharge. You're going to get about halfway through the round again.
Wave scanning.
Now, this may be different in organized competition, where you're going to want to have it on specific timings, because again, it does respawn, but it's not an instantaneous respawn. But do not be afraid to use it at the beginning of the round when you're playing casual, when you're playing matchmaking. Who knows? Maybe in a couple of months, the meta will be different, and that'll be a stupid statement to make, but at least right now, I find comfortable sharing that. The next ability, Hole Mine. This one's going to be a grenade, as usual, overhand, underhand, but it is also kind of a trap. Let me show you what I mean. You cannot throw this before the walls open. You cannot throw this before the round officially starts, but once you throw it down, it will stay there. So again, that's what I mean by trap. And you can have 2 of them. You can have 2 of them out at the same time. That's what makes this very useful, is that you can watch positions with it. Similar to Morgan United's traps, you can be holding this angle. That one goes off. That one goes off. I know that I'm getting attacked from multiple sides, and I can entry and hold that angle more specifically. The amount of damage that it does isn't great, but it does do AoE and does multiple pulses. And again, the fact that you can have 2 down at the same time, despite them being weaker, is valuable. So on the attacking side especially, not only are these useful on defense for holding flanks, holding positions, and just blocking entries, you can also use it on the attacking side to watch for flanks, but also once you get the Zeus down, throw one on top of it. However, you cannot throw both of them, because they will destroy. Look, it just destroyed that before it could go off. You cannot stack them. You can't stack the damage. You can only have one
Setting a hole mine
in the area at a time before it gets destroyed. See, that just got destroyed by that one. So be aware that you can't just like plant the Zeus and throw 2 of them down to double up on the damage. You can only throw 1 down to be efficient. That doesn't mean that you can't throw 1 over here and 1 over here. And so whichever one gets triggered first, you'll have it. Just be aware of it though. It's not quite as powerful as you would hope in that sense, but again, it's already powerful enough, so I don't mind it. The last ability, again, talking about holding angles, this is everyone's best friend. It is going to be Arc Sentry.
Arc Sentry on scan.
Very similar to Killjoy Bot in Valorant. It doesn't deal any damage, but what it does is that it will trigger whenever anyone is in the POV. It is a full 180-degree hold. It does move, and so if you wanted to try to like move around it, you could. That's going to be incredibly difficult to get any efficiency out of it. You can't shoot it. It's low HP, it goes down pretty fast, but that already is also going to be code for, oh shit, someone's coming. Arc Sentry just died. So whether it's holding an angle on defense, whether it's holding an angle for a flank on attack, it's very powerful. Now, one thing to note is that it will not tell you where the trigger is. There's no mark. It's literally just the fact that someone is there. But if I am all the way on the other side of a map over here, say holding this position, and suddenly my Arc Sentry behind me gets triggered, I know that I need to worry about this direction. Quality of life that you should be aware of. I main this sponsor, but I do forget about this routinely, is that if you want to be facing behind you, you don't gotta run and like do this. Just hit right click.
Arc Sentry, standing by.
Just hit right click. So just be aware of that. It's not the most important thing. I
Arc
rarely
Sentry
ever
on
have
scan.
to use it, and I forget that it exists, but
Arc Sentry, what?
it is a good quality of life thing to be aware of. Important to note as well,
Arc Sentry.
it can get destroyed by ally
placed.
damage. Similar to your whole mine destroying other whole mines, your whole mine will destroy your Arc Sentry. However, if a whole mine gets triggered, why your Arc Sentry would still be up, I don't know. Just be aware of it. The next sponsor, the first one on the list of the sponsors that you need to unlock, is Vector Dynamics. This sponsor is very straightforward in its entrying abilities. The free ability that you get is similar to Wave Scan, where you only get one of them, but it does recharge over time. This one is called Dual Amp. What it does is that you pop it on yourself, you get
Amping up.
50% fire rate increase, and kills will reset the amplification. What it also does is that you can hit it again, bring your other unit, your other Spectre over, and it will get the same amplification. Kills that one unit gets transfer over to the buff increase on the other unit. So they are shared between the two of them. It's no move speed, it is just a fire rate increase, but it also helps bring your other unit over. Say I'm about to swing over this wall. My other Spectre is all the way over there, a different part of the map. And for myself,
Using my amp.
I toss it again. I swing, I die. I got my other unit already here to go again. Full commitment onto an entry send. Vector Dynamics does it better than anyone else. The next ability, the first purchased ability for Vector Dynamics, is going to be Vector Wall. It is very straightforward.
Slow
It just
Vector
pops
Wall.
out a wall. Blocks vision. Does not block bullets. Where are you? Does not block bullets. So if you pair it with anything like a wave scan from Riker or any other informational gathering thing, even just a ping from a teammate, you can definitely... What is that? Let me do this.
Vector
And
Wall
then-
easy.
Bam. Take them out that way. You have two uses for it. They both go straight forward. They
Vector
can
wall.
use to push behind and clear corners while you're making the entry and not have to worry about being seen from the front. It has two speeds. It's got regular speed that I've been using.
Vector
It also
wall
has a
heading off.
faster speed. It lasts shorter, but it does actually go further because of the increased speed. It only lasts for 6 seconds instead of 10, but it will go about 10% further. Not going to be a huge difference, but something perhaps that could be important later on if you're trying to develop strategies and you're trying to block off a specific set distance. It's what, 10 seconds left click, 6 seconds right click, but a little bit further because of the
Launching
faster
vector wall.
move speed of the right click. The third ability for Vector Dynamics is going to be Nanosphere. This is a really good buddy to try an entry with. As you can see, I'm not holding anything, and it shows the trajectory once you throw it of where it bounces.
Nanosphere
It's going to be a little
going out.
sphere that bounces around. Anything within this range let me show you over here. Anything within this range is going to
Nanosphere,
target it, and then suddenly... Where did you go? Anything
Firing
within
the
this
nanosphere.
sphere of range, it's going to trigger onto. Now it's going to stay next to and just deal a whole bunch of damage. It can get destroyed. So if you have this thing chasing you, just shoot at it. You'll be able to take it out. But it's a really good scouting buddy to throw ahead of
Nanosphere
you
going out.
and then swing behind. Because if anything, it actually can do a really good job of checking around
Nanosphere.
corners. Someone shoots at it or it tags onto someone, you know that they're there and you can swing into them. So again, vector dynamics, really good for people who like to go aggressive entry players who want to take over an entire site and just entry into it by themselves, give themselves a couple of tools to do it
Angling a
with.
wall.
Sponsor number 6 is Ghostlink Collective, and this is the sponsor for everyone who wants to be a ratty little flanker. If you want to do nothing but annoy and irritate your opponents, whether you're on attack or defense, choose Ghostlink Collective. The first initial free ability is just going to be a
Partition
wall
going up. Partition up.
that stays there. You can't curve it or anything, but you can see exactly where it's going.
Partition
And what's
activated.
also useful to know, this affects both allies and enemies, that if you get close to it, it does scramble your vision. So it means that it's a way of balancing it
Placing
in some
partition.
sense. It means that you can't place it and then immediately swing. It's going to limit the efficacy of your swing behind. You can still see pretty clearly if you're prepared for it, if you're ready for it. It's not impossible. It's not even close to it. But it does have that little bit of distraction, little bit of screwiness that you can use
Partitioning.
to your advantage. Or say if you're defending, if you're expecting someone who just tossed this out to them, toss through it to just, you know, be aware of it. It also, as we saw, does not block bullets. It just blocks vision. But it goes out like
Partition.
instantly. And you get 2 of them. So, it's a pretty good ability, but the most iconic part of Ghostlink Collective is actually going to be the dupe. And as it self-describes,
Go dupe.
you toss out a little dupe. If you shoot this, if an enemy shoots this, it will mark their position. And if you are standing still or moving forward at normal running speed, it will be
Sending
running
dupe.
forward as normal. But if you're walking,
Dupe going slow.
it will walk.
Running a dupe.
If you're crouching, it will be crouched. The other aspect of this ability is that if you throw your puck out, it will be leaving a dupe behind where your Spectre originally was, and if an enemy shoots it, it will reveal them as usual. Still, that's not going to be nearly as powerful and, shall we say, annoying as rounding
Making
a
a
corner,
dupe.
throwing a dupe out ahead of time. They hear the footsteps, they shoot it, they get revealed, and you just pre-fire it. I also, just be aware of this, I have seen people who use Ghostlink Collective run forward into a wall themselves, pretending to be the dupe, and then just shoot you. I have seen that happen. I've seen that happen. Be aware of it. These mind games, this is what this sort of sponsor is all about. So the last ability is going to be Dead Zone. It's
Dead
thrown
zone
out like a
active.
grenade. It doesn't deal any damage, but what it does, and this is for both allies and enemies, is that you can't see anything outside of it. So it's good on defense to sort of limit the entering abilities of your opponents, but also on attack, if you're going to
Keep
try and
going
enter
out.
yourself, you know someone is in the corner there, just
Throwing
throw
dead
it out, and you can, as long as you're outside of it, you can just shoot them and they can't shoot you. Doesn't mean they can't pre-fire it. Like what? Let me show you here.
Dead zone up.
Doesn't mean you can't pre-fire it. So like say if this was the Ghostlink Collective player, they threw that out onto me and I'm holding this angle, holding this corner. And you can still see, it's not 100% limiting on the
Dead zoning.
vision. Like you could see something there. Still, not nearly as comfortable or easy or... Like, I knew that this bot is standing here this whole time. Most of the time, you're not
Dead
going to
zone going
recognize a change in these big blocks of color as being a person. I just know that this guy's here already. As far as holding a position, holding a site, the chances of seeing someone if you're trying to stand in that position are very limited. I would miss. if you need to stay inside of it, just know the angle that you're going to be shooting and just pre-fire it and hope they walk into your spray. Otherwise, just get the fuck out. But yeah,
Dead zone.
right click, overhand. Sorry, left click, overhand, right click, underhand throw. Traditional grenade stuff. Sponsor number 7 is going to be Mu Robotics, and this sponsor is somewhere kind of in between Vector Dynamics as well as a little bit of Pinnacle International, where it does entry, and it's got some supporting elements to it, it's got some aggressive elements to it. The free ability that you get, it also, you only get one at a time, but it does recharge, similar to Riker, similar to Vector, is going to be Patches, where it's a little buddy, it's a little bot, and it heals anything inside. Yeah, see, it heals when you're inside it. And you can follow it. So it's good to enter into a site and give you and a team, if you're trying to force into a site multiple people, to have an advantage in an engagement because of the health HP recharge that it gives. You can also right click it just to plop it down and stay stationary, and so it doesn't move. So those are the 2 modes. It's only 1 speed when you throw it out. And you can also see ahead of time where it's going to bounce. It does bounce off walls, as we saw earlier. So this could be a way to slow it down, to have it go through a wall like this and just bounce through, where it doesn't just charge straight ahead of you. But regardless, straightforward, it heals anyone standing, any ally standing in it, and it will recharge over time. Next one is going to be Dazzler, and this one is going to be another flash grenade, but what makes it different is that you can curve it. What also makes it different is that it does not flash your allies or even yourself. It just flashes anyone within that range, any enemy within that range.
Throwing Dazzler.
And because of that, I was told that this was a specific reason for making it look different. It looks like this. Here's some examples of what it looks like on the enemy's side. I call it 70s psychedelic, because that's what it looks like to me. But it's not going to be a full white, it's going to be that, and that's a way for them, I guess, within the lore to identify that it is not going to flash you or your teammates, it just flashes your enemies, and they make it look like that, which is cool. But yeah, very straightforward flash. You throw it straight, curve it.
Dazzler up.
So, good entry tool. The third ability for Mu Robotics is going to be Hyperdome. What this does is it throws out a fast recall zone that has a shield around it. The shield is similar strength to the walls from Bloom Technologies. It's 150 HP. But what I've seen, there was one player that I went up against that was such a nuisance. What they did was they threw it out, swung. When they showed themselves, the enemy, aka me, reacted, shot through the wall, and then the second it was broken, they just shot me. So being able to swing outside of this wall, having this as protection, is the most important use for it. The fast recall zone is powerful as well, and because there's a shield, if you recall into an area, say I want to recall someone, there's an enemy holding this position, I want to let's pretend this isn't there, I want to recall someone through this side, but I don't want them to get immediately shot. I'll throw this out, throw my guy, and so I have a little bit of protection in order to ready myself to then take a fight. You're going to need to experiment and figure out how exactly best you want to use this Hyperdome. It is not as straightforward as many other abilities are. And in fact, when I play it, I tend to consider the fast recall zone and the shield as 2 separate uses of it, not often played in combination of each other. Because again, the fact that it's 150 HP means that it is pretty quickly to destroy if someone's ready for it. And so even if you do want to do some quick swap, bam, already dead at this point. If someone was ready to spray it down and open the wall before my Spectre got in play. Now you can see there's a bunch of them standing around. Now you only get 2 of them, so unless there's ones on your opponent is playing Mu Robotics, you're gonna have a max of 4 additional fast spawn positions on the map. Just don't think that it's gonna flood around like this. It's just because it's training zone, and I have a bunch of these, and I can make this entire floor fast call if I wanted to. Okay, anyway. I'll reset this and we'll talk about the last and probably the most interesting sponsor. The last sponsorship is going to be Umbra Reconnaissance. It's actually this sponsorship that inspired me to make this video to begin with, because this sponsorship specifically is the most intricate, the least straightforward in how the different abilities interact. And I'm going to be talking about the abilities out of order. We're going to start not with the Q, not with the free starting ability, but with the E, the Pulse Finder. What this does by itself is relatively straightforward. You're holding a Pulse Finder that searches for pulses. Pulses every 3 seconds or so, and it will scan through walls, and it has a set range. It is going to scan different enemies. Then you shoot through walls with it. You can only use your sidearm with the unit that's holding it. And I'm going to talk about the other abilities first, and then we'll talk about how they interact with Pulse Finder, because it is how Pulse Finder interacts with both the Recon Wing and the Glare Burst that makes Umbra Reconnaissance as powerful as it is. So Recon Wing by itself, you're just going to throw it out. It's going to scan units, and you're going to shoot through walls a lot more in a lot more detail than the Pulse Finder does, and it will scan an entire area. It will tag everyone in there, and you can have your gun out when it scans, so immediately be responding to it. Glare Burst is a flash that can go through walls, and it flashes an entire area in front of people.
Glare burst out.
Now you can flash yourself and flash allies, so be aware of that. But generally, you're going to be using this in a position like this. Glare Burst, they're blinded, and then you just shoot them. So, Recon Wing and Glare Burst, they already do a lot on their own. It's how they interact with Pulse Finder that makes this sponsorship the most interesting. At least, in my opinion, very interesting and also very intimidating. I still don't use this that often because how intimidating it is, and how that happens is thus.
Pulse Finder.
When you pull off your unit, they will be continuing to pulse fire. And every single pulse that you get, see the arrows on the bottom? You immediately can throw it down all the way across the map. It doesn't matter where you are. As long as you're looking towards them, it immediately gets dropped down. With an AoE round, you can see that guy got blinded as well. So, again, be aware of the AoE with everything. But it doesn't matter the range that you're at. It doesn't matter what's between the walls. You can use both of these abilities at this distance. Hold on, I'm blinded.
Running
okay.
Pulse Finder.
Let's do this again. Doesn't matter the range.
Okay, sending Glare Burst.
Glare Burst. Everyone's blinded.
Recon
Pulse.
Wing, up.
Everyone's scanned. It is being able to know the maps, know the setups, and rely on your teammates as well as just do it yourself to be able to utilize this sponsorship in its best ways. I'll be honest, I know the basics on how this works, but if you are interested on top level play with this, I would go somewhere else, because I'm sure there are some people, there might even be videos out there right now, despite this game only just now launching, who could give more detailed examples on how to use this sponsorship most efficiently. This sponsorship is the one that I've encountered the least overall, just because of how complicated that it is. I think this sponsorship is going to shine in organized play, whether it's any sort of organized competition or even just you playing in a stack with your buddies, playing with your two friends, and you already have your own little bit of a setup. It's not gonna be the same thing as like a top level esport type of setup, but it is, you know, as long as you have like a set play with everyone, you got a buddy over there, I'm holding this angle, oh shit, Glare Burst. And then like the friend will swing out this angle. But you don't need to have a strategy set up with teammates in order to make this effective either. You just have your Pulse Finder running. I'm holding this angle over here. Bam, suddenly I pull this guy out. Glare Burst, pop back over this guy, and I swing, and I take care of it. It is always going to be intimidating by having a guy behind a wall. You're holding this angle, and then, oh god, no. Suddenly, I'm in danger. Gotta flip back into this. And even though controlling 2 units is intimidating when you first start to play this game, once you get used to the maps, there are 3 maps on launch, there are 3 maps at the moment. Once you get used to the maps, you'll be able to know where exactly you can hold positions and be able to play with timings and not worry about getting rushed down all too much. So, check this guy out. I would not recommend this for beginners. For beginners, this is one that I would recommend the least. I would definitely just say go Pinnacle and Morgan are the best of the starting 4 for beginners, and then Ghostlink Collective is probably the easiest of the 4 that you need to unlock for beginners, as well as Vector Dynamics. But yeah, those are the 8 starting sponsors for Spectre Divide. Really excited that I can finally talk about this game. If you want to watch more videos, you want to watch more streams, please follow me, like and subscribe, not just here on YouTube. I also stream on Twitch, so check me out there if you're interested in. But regardless, till the next video, see you guys later.